I think you can't spend that much time in a pub and try and win.
The referee took center stage. I'm not going to say he was biased towards one or the other.
We write the theme tune, we sing the theme tune.
Everywhere in the press now, it's have Arsenal solved their striker crisis.
We play them on Saturday with an injury list longer than the Declaration of Independence.
Bench Opinions. 3 idiots with amateur analysis.
Give the face a wipe there. Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Bench Opinions. And it's just the two of us today. If you haven't watched the 2 previous episodes this week, you might not know what's going on. First of all, it's only circumstantial that now I get to sit with each of these lovely individuals.
Klaus out.
Yeah, Klaus talks too much. Anyway, we've broken down what used to be our hour 20, hour 30 episode into bite-sized. Well, they're not that bite-sized yet. They're long, but bite-sized pieces. So if
the last 2 you recorded were like a 3-course meal.
That's exactly it. But we're going to get there one day. We'll be in a well-oiled machine at some point. But we've broken the long podcast into pieces so that you can choose what you want to listen to. So the first episode was What a Week, where we just talk shit, essentially. Second episode was a rugby episode where I got to discuss all things rugby with Klaus. And we've got 2 more, which I get to record with Maxi. The first being football.
Our favorite sport.
Yeah, Klaus said too much. And then the next one is leftovers.
Best of the rest.
The best of the rest. So like and subscribe. This is a good time to say that. Let us know what you think about the new format. And we're going to talk about some football.
Yes, a lot happened. I mean, let's stick to the Premier League.
Yeah.
Hamburg are still going to be in the 2nd division next year.
Possibly.
They didn't manage to win, I think, on the weekend, right?
No, we drew, but luckily Cologne didn't do too well, so we're still up there. One other thing about German football, there was a game between Leverkusen and Bayern.
Bayern got away with by the skin of their teeth.
Exactly, but they keep their 8-point lead. They drew that game.
Means title is probably sewn up for them now.
I think so, and good performance currently by Kompany. You know, he's surprising me. He's come in and he's really just taken it by.
Do you know which other former players putting in a good performance is Miroslav Klose for Nürnberg?
True.
They're also only 5 points off an automatic promotion spot, and he's taken over when they were in trouble.
I go through different phases of thinking whether former players should try and be coaches or not. Traditionally, they usually do. Frank Lampard has come into Coventry and absolutely turned them on a sixpence. They've gone from relegation to now pushing for promotion spots. I thought his career was done. I still think Wayne Rooney's career is done. I think you can't spend that much time in a pub and try and win. But yeah, interesting to see some of the former players. And also with Miroslav Klose, for example, he waited quite a long time for taking that first managerial role, which is something I think players often don't do. They kind of jump into it and they're like, let me at him.
Yeah, and I think especially when they were quite good players and they were prominent with the spotlight being on them, like it was with Lampard, with Gerrard, with Rooney, the pitfalls are big when you don't succeed in the beginning. In the beginning. So someone like Miroslav Klose can probably fly under the radar a little bit more, even though he was a superstar. Good to see that.
Yep.
Should we get into some Premier League results? We have to go all the way back to last Wednesday.
Yeah.
The Merseyside Derby, the last one at Goodison Park before they moved to their new stadium. It was intense.
Listen, first of all, thank you to the footballing gods for giving us some old-fashioned midweek derby action, because I think you can be forgiven if you're a South African football fan. Soweto derbies usually don't end in very many goals.
Like a 0-0 draw.
So this game gave you a lot. I heard the quality wasn't too good. I watched bits and pieces of it.
No.
I heard the quality wasn't great, but 4 goals.
Yeah, so Everton played really well. I think under David Moyes, they're a different outfit, and the fans were definitely up for the game. They knew this is the time to stick it to Liverpool. Liverpool couldn't play their usual game, and then the referee took center stage. I'm not going to say he was biased towards one or the other. I did think it was a pity how quickly he brandished yellow cards for a derby, because you do want a few crunching challenges, and he got behind the 8 ball too early, and then he was just playing catch up from there because he'd given people yellow cards that may have not been yellow cards for a derby. And then, the less said about the additional time at the end, the better. But a great goal by Tarkowski to level it.
What a strike. Look, Michael Oliver, I don't know how long he can keep getting away with performance like that, to be honest. And I don't know what... The thing is, the issue is, it's a little bit of we write the theme tune, we sing the theme tune with these referees because they govern themselves.
Yeah.
They have their own, it's like the police. Like they govern themselves, they have their own union, so if you're doing quality control from internally and you're going to inevitably protect one of your own. And I think that's the issue with VAR. There's very little independence between the different sort of refereeing bodies. So I don't know. I think it's just blatant that maybe I think it's okay to admit, hey, listen, take a couple of weeks off, get your head back in space and get back on the pitch because it is starting to affect games, I think.
Yeah, and it's okay, like you said, afterwards to just say, listen, the ref has made a few mistakes. These are the mistakes that he made, and just be very open about it. Fans are going to be dickheads about it because they are. Some of the shit that Liverpool fans have said online since that draw is ridiculous. Yeah. Like people are getting upset that Everton celebrated the way they did. It's a derby. It's the last one at Goodison Park. They've put a hurdle in Liverpool's way to the title. Of course they're going to celebrate like that, and good on them. Jurgen Klopp fucking made the players go on like a celebration round when we drew with West Brom when he first got there. So we're sitting in glass houses. What do you think about the Premier League considering international referees instead of sticking to purely English ones, just because obviously you really expand the pool of quality that you can get?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be a good move. The reason I think it's a good move is because it really solves one of the big problems and one of the big conspiracies is that English refs have some sort of bias because of growing up in the footballing community and supporting certain teams. I like to believe that they can remain professional, but at least you put that problem to bed. The issue I have with that is the precedents that it sets, and eventually it'll be the leagues kind of fighting over the best referees, and officiating probably ending up getting worse as the leagues kind of you go down the league tables.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like that Dutch referees referee in the Dutch league and German referees referee in the German league, and there's a sort of standard that gets maintained.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the standard in England does seem to be dipping a little, but that could be turned around. Let's run through some other results from the weekend. Next game up was Brighton thumping Chelsea.
Listen, after that 7-0 loss to Nottingham, Brighton, I think Hutzler realized, okay, we've got to rip up the rule book and let's go back to the table. And since then, they've flown. Mitoma's goal was unbelievable. I don't know if you saw that over-the-head touch. They rejected a massive offer for him from Saudis in January, and so far, ever since then, he's just been flying. So, yeah, I think Brighton might still push. If they can continue in this way, they might still push for definitely for a top 6 position.
Jesus, it's tight up there.
It is.
Yes, it's tight.
And if you look at the decline of Chelsea as well, that must be said as well. 3-0. Chelsea are in free fall at the moment.
Chelsea are moving towards the danger zone for a Chelsea manager, which is absurd to think of if you think of the season he started with and just sort of trying to build a project. But knowing Chelsea and knowing their owner, Maresca should be probably a little bit worried about his job.
Definitely. I also think if you look at I think there will be some managers becoming available. I think the inevitable move of Xabi Alonso to Real Madrid frees up someone like Carlo Ancelotti, who I think is the ideal candidate for someone like Todd Boehly.
Would that be the third time that he comes back to Chelsea?
That would be the third time, I think, yeah. And I don't know. I think Ancelotti's someone who would, Ancelotti took the Everton job. So I think if there's enough money in it for him and he can get back on the manager's seat, I think he would take it. So,
and he's probably still yearning for that real success in the Premier League, which has eluded him. And he's a great manager, so that's probably something, a chip on his shoulder. Not sure if the Premier League suits him, but he is a great manager, and Chelsea would be lucky to have him. But would be weird to see someone like Maresca go, because the Chelsea project definitely is still in its infancy.
For sure. I think that's something that will probably attract Ancelotti to Chelsea, though, is that they've done all the shopping.
Yeah.
They've gone on the Reggie's rush of signing everyone under the age of 21 in Europe and South America.
Do you know they do that here in Germany, in Saturn and Mediamarkt, in electronic stores?
What do they do? Buy
Reggie's
young
rush.
Brazilians. Oh. It's like, what? I was like, what do they?
Yes, they human traffic.
All right.
Let's just run through some other results through the weekend. Bournemouth continue their winning run. And Man City are back with a big one against Newcastle.
Yeah,
Marmoush scoring a hat-trick.
Yeah, a big win. Surprise result for me because I felt like Newcastle were flying. But
Very surprising how poor Newcastle were. I think their first half was abysmal.
I don't usually agree with Merson, but he mentioned that it looked like Newcastle were hoping that the city of the last 3 months shows up. And that didn't happen because Newcastle sort of played really open and they looked for City to come onto them. And they came onto them. And I think, Marmoush scored those 3 goals so quickly they were out of the game. We have to come back briefly, though, to that Everton Crystal Palace result, only because Everton are now the most informed team in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Under Moyes.
Which will be worrying you, I think, considering you're up next.
Yeah, we play them on Saturday with an injury list longer than the Declaration of Independence. But yeah, I mean, look, also I have to say hats off to David Moyes.
Yeah. Because
that whole Manchester United situation is still a weird one. I don't know really. I think he was so unfairly treated when he came to Manchester United, following up Sir Alex Ferguson, and to then resurrect his career the way he has, coming back. He went to Sociedad. That was a weird move. Yeah. I don't think any British manager should go to Spain. I think just stay away. Pablo Espanol.
When you hear like people from the British Isles or Ireland speak a different language, it's a fascinating thing. Have you seen Ronan O'Gara's like dipping in and out of French?
Yeah,
it's hectic.
it's funny, and I mean, I think we also forget the speed at which they learn these languages.
Yeah.
So like nuances is like out the window. It's just like, hello, how do I order a beer, and fuck them up.
And it's not the grammatical correct version of putting a word into a sentence. It's learning a word and then just saying the word, but not in the right tense or in the right format. But good on them. Big win for Fulham against Nottingham Forest, because Forest are definitely also on a roll. 2-1. Villa surprise draw to Ipswich 1-1 at home.
I'm interested to see what, we talk about the top of the table. I'm interested to see how the bottom of the table spans out. I think Southampton are gone, and they haven't spent much money in January. So I think that shows you that they might have even be resigned to the fact that they're gone. But Ipswich keep picking up points. Yeah. And you'll be looking at that 40-point mark, which is guaranteed safety in the league. And if they keep picking up points like this, who knows? I would love them to stay up because they haven't gone out and spent big money. They've stuck to their guns, and McKenna's a young coach, and they play pretty cool football as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then you looked at teams like West Ham, who are really in trouble because they're in a free fall. Yeah. They're dropping. Someone like Wolves, the result against Liverpool, which we'll get to a little bit later, have also turned it around a little bit in the performance. But quickly on Arsenal, winning 2-0 to Leicester with late goals by Mikel Merino.
Yeah.
And everywhere in the press now, it's have Arsenal solved their striker crisis?
Yeah. I think Arsenal, bar United, Arsenal are the worst at controlling kind of the media hype around themselves. I think it always has a sense of like it being a little bit out of control. I question how much a club can do to try and control that narrative. I mean, there was massive talk when there was big troubles early on in Arteta's time at Arsenal with Arsenal Fan TV and how toxic it was, etc. Similar talk now with the United Stand and a couple of the United fan pages. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, I think, because a lot of the fan community lives through those channels. Yeah. But yeah, there's always, it's like a tabloid club at the moment. And so I think, one, take it with a pinch of salt, but I think they are going to have issues. And I think the main reason they're going to have issues is because the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, they're going to have to win. It feels like they're going to have to win every game. Yeah.
So I've got the remaining fixtures for both clubs coming up on the next slide, so we can get through them. Quickly to your team, a underwhelming 1-0 loss to Spurs, but it was under 21s versus under 21s.
Yeah, I mean, no quality football at all, and it's reminiscent of the 14th and 15th team in the league playing against each other. You can't really say anything about United in the sense that I think Ruben Amorim sees this season as preparation for next season. We're still, I think, 12 points off relegation. That's not going to happen. No. What are we I think it's learn. Try and win a cup, possibly. Europa League would be fantastic because it gets us into Champions League.
Yeah, but anything other, you don't want to be in the Conference League.
No, no. And I think that's the reality of it. And a lot of people got upset with the lack of business in January. But I look at that market and I go to myself, why get involved?
Unless you're City and you're throwing oil money at the problem, you're not going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of United fans have to humble themselves and accept where we are. And I think from next season, after hopefully a better summer transfer window, you can start to judge. But some decent performances in there. Some players every now and then sort of starting to show glimpses, and that's what you've got to take and move forward.
I think your only issue is what is it called now? The financial fair play, PSR?
PSR.
You guys are on the limit of that, as far as I know. So you're going to have to clear out a little bit. And they're not terrible, but you don't also have a lot of players that are desired around Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's, unfortunately, that last window by Ten Hag is throwing up some questions. Someone like Xerxes just doesn't look like he's up to it.
No, look, I think fortunately we have a couple of big owners whose contracts are up. So Christian Eriksen is gone, Lindelof is gone. Right. So that's big money being freed up in the summer. Rashford will go. We don't know for how much, but whatever he goes for, we'll get rid of his massive salary, plus it's pure profit. Greenwood looks like he's going to be sold from Marseille to PSG for about 75 million. We have a 50% sell-on clause. Antony is ripping it up in La Liga. So I must say, yes, I'm concerned, but at the same time, I think there's plans to get rid of players and hopefully replace them with people that can grow into the team. Yeah. But time will tell.
On your opponents, Spurs, good win for Ange. Definitely takes a little bit of that pressure that's on him off his back. What do you make of the Tottenham fans' Levy out stance?
The issue is that metrics to judge the success of a club from an owner's perspective or a management perspective to fans' perspective is very disconnected and very different.
Yes.
And I think that's the big issue here. Levy will sit there and go, hey, I moved us from White Hart Lane. I was behind getting us back into the Champions League. I've built us the best stadium in the league, arguably.
Yeah. He's gotten them into a conversation with other teams that they weren't in before.
What do you want from me? Yeah. Whereas the fans look at the empty trophy cabinet and they say, and I think he would be naive not to understand it, but absolutely, I think there's a lot of naivety from the Spurs fans. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, he's built something that I think will give them sustainable success at some point.
Yeah. But
I think they're just at the wrong point of the curve now. And because of the context of no trophies for I don't know how many, over 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
You're going to be upset as a fan because at the end of the day, you cheer on the goals. You're not going to cheer when there's an NFL game hosted at your stadium.
No, for sure. And I think the current joke is they've got Beyoncé in the summer, so everything's fine. Is it as easy for Levy to just say, listen, I still love Tottenham. I know I'm financially putting this club in a good position. I'm going to put in a sporting director and I'm going to take myself out of all footballing decisions, because in the past he has demonstrated that even when he puts in coaches who want all control, like a Jose Mourinho, he can't let go.
Yeah. The irony is that Levy's not even the majority owner. There's a silent owner that owns a large portion of it, I think up to 70% of the shares. Levy's in there with about 20 and the rest is sort of whatever. So he kind of does act as an honorary director, I guess. Looking at United, and it's too early to tell, but I do believe a sporting structure, or looking at all the successful clubs, I believe a sporting structure is vital for success. And that's why I do think it is better to have someone, at least on a technical level, that knows what they're talking about to build a footballing culture that can end up winning.
Yeah.
I think he's an astute businessman. He's notorious for negotiating very hard for Spurs players. But I don't think that's where the focus should be. The focus shouldn't be, I'm going to be as hard as nails to try and get the most for players that I'm selling to often rival clubs.
Yeah.
I think it should be about what is the 5 to 10 year plan to get success back on the pitch. And I think that's where the disconnect is currently.
Yeah. They probably have to spend a little bit more on wages as well. They're not the biggest spenders there, which shows in their in their squad. But yeah, they're financially healthy, so it's almost like a tipping point. Do you want to be in a situation that your club is in, for example, where you've had to get in an owner who's just drastically slashing costs left and right because your majority owners have bled the club dry? Or do you want to be in a position where your club is financially stable, you've got great training grounds, your stadium's fantastic, and all you're missing is the sporting structure, which seems like if you just get footballing people involved, is easier to solve than really fixing the financial health of a whole football club.
No, I agree.
Last result from the previous game week, Liverpool, I guess you would have to say, squeezed past Wolves in the end.
Yeah, second half was crazy.
Second half, Liverpool scored 2 in the first half, and then Wolves really came back. And I think Liverpool fans were very relieved that we held on. I think they cheered one of Endo's tackles at the end to win a free kick, like they cheered a winning goal. But I think after a very taxing midweek, it was going to happen that they're going to show a little bit of a drop off. But there's big fixtures coming up. Let's get into those. We play Villa on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
that is a massive one away from home.
It's a huge game. A good time to play Villa, I think, though.
Yeah, that was if it was Villa from 2 months ago, I would have been a lot more worried. They're not as dangerous now. Touch wood.
They might release Marcus Rashford on you guys.
I mean, they've got, when I looked at their attacking threats, they've got like eight attackers that are all like name players.
Yeah, it's impressive. I think also must be said, Emery needs to perform with the money they've spent. So a little bit of pressure on his side as well.
I think it would be important for Liverpool to get at least a draw out of that. Because that is a tough away fixture. Big game for you guys, as we've mentioned before. You're going to Goodison Park. I honestly, with your current injury list, don't see you getting a result out of that.
No, I think it's going to be more heartbreak for United. Yeah.
Arsenal, I think, are going to cruise past West Ham because they are at home. Bournemouth and Wolves could be a really good game with Wolves' resurgence, but Bournemouth playing well.
Yeah.
And then the other big fixture of the game week comes on Sunday with Liverpool involved again away to City.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I think it's got a sense of a kingmaker situation. Also, if City beat Liverpool, if City managed to beat Liverpool, they might go, "Ooh, okay,
yeah,
we've beaten Newcastle, we've swept them aside, we've beaten Liverpool. Maybe some belief comes back that they can make a run." Whereas if I think you beat City, I think even more. There's going to be even more belief in the Liverpool squad that you could.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, I think there's belief already because I don't think you get results like the 2-1 win against Wolves without belief.
No.
But that could be not the title clincher, but it could be what kicks the season into the final stretch.
These two results are big. They're both away from home. They're 3 days apart. Good opponents. Slot did mention that you can see some fatigue in the squad. He has trusted mainly, I would say, 15 or 16 players out of his whole squad the whole season, which could show in the latter part of the season. The fact that you haven't really given more fringe players like a Chiesa or others more chances just to get that match fitness going. I want to run you through some of both fixtures for the two teams currently in the title race.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to run through them. You tell me win, lose or draw.
Okay.
Liverpool away to Villa.
Draw.
Liverpool away to City.
Draw.
Home to Newcastle.
Draw.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Home Southampton.
Win.
Home Everton.
Win.
Away Fulham.
Win.
West Ham home.
Win.
Leicester away.
Win.
Tottenham at home.
Win.
Chelsea away.
Win.
Arsenal at home.
Draw.
Brighton away.
Win.
And Crystal Palace at home.
Win.
Okay, so you've given me 4 draws.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you said Newcastle at home a draw.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are really good, and I think if they show up on the day, and what they've done this season is they've generally shown up to the big games. Okay, bar the City result, but I think they've got a couple 2 games. I think really easy games coming up, Newcastle, and I think they're a good side, and I think that's why they can clinch a point.
Yeah. That's 9 wins. That is actually exactly the number we need to clinch it. So there's a little space for a slip up, but not a lot. Let's get through Arsenal's. West Ham at home.
Win for Arsenal.
Forest away.
Lose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Forest at home currently are a real gargantuan task. United away.
Draw.
United can get up for those big games.
You can.
You just hope that some of your squad is back.
Yeah.
Big United fan that weekend. Big United fan. Chelsea at home.
A win.
Fulham at home.
Draw.
Everton away.
I think they're going to lose. They'll bottle it.
Brentford at home,
Win.
Ipswich away,
Win.
Crystal Palace at home,
Draw.
Bournemouth at home,
Draw.
Liverpool away.
What did I say? Draw.
I think you said draw, yeah.
Yeah.
Newcastle at home.
I think they'll beat Newcastle. I think it will be irrelevant.
And Southampton away. So you think the title could actually be decided earlier?
There's a combination, yeah. First of all, I think Liverpool have shown that they can win games, and regardless of performance to a certain degree, and I think that's a massive factor. And completely the other side of the coin is Arsenal for me.
Yeah.
I don't think Mikel Arteta and those players can shake the monkey off their back of not showing up when they need to. Yeah. And we've seen it this season again. And I just think they're going to fall short again. And I think the problem for them is if Liverpool navigate these first few fixtures here, particularly the next three, Aston Villa, City and Newcastle, if Liverpool navigate those to come through with...
It looks a little bit lighter. 5
points, let's say, from those 3 games. You look at the lightness of the fixtures there, and, Nottingham Forest away for Arsenal, United away for Arsenal, regardless of what the situation is. Yeah. Fulham at home, Everton away. I don't see them get them. And I also think, for example, I don't know if that squad has the bite and fight in them to get across the line against Everton at Goodison Park, particularly not with a striker who can get you a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the games against Everton do end up in a little bit of a sort of old school hoof it upfield, or just put a lot of crosses in the box. And if you don't have a tall striker who can compete against their centre backs, Liverpool saw it. We had Luis Diaz playing in false 9, an absolute failure of an experiment. And also, I think it comes down to each match day, who's playing first. Because if Liverpool do get a win, the pressure does shift a lot onto Arsenal. And if it's a tricky fixture, that pressure is definitely more on them chasing than it is on Liverpool, who have a little bit of a buffer.
For sure.
So interesting title race going in. Anything else you want to cover on the footballing front?
No. Right. Just hope my teams can somehow salvage something from this season.
All right, that's it for this week then.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to our first
football chat.
Football chatter.
Yeah, and there is one more episode coming this week, so like and subscribe, and we'll see you for Leftovers.
Love the Leftovers.